You know, when a luxury car manufacturer says they want to take one of their flagship models and make some significant changes to it, it doesn't always sound like the best idea. But in today's case, oh, it's one of the best things that they could have ever done. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another car review here on the driveway, where this week we are in a vehicle that needs absolutely no explanation at all. We are in the 2022 Lexus LC500. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, you've driven those cars already, haven't you? Well, you're right. Not this one though, because this is the LC500 Convertible, the best of all the possible worlds. V8 up front, rear wheel drive, you can take the roof off, and it comes at a huge sticker price. I mean, it is a Lexus after all, so I kind of expected that, but not $112,000 MSRP for the car that I'm sitting in right now. So yeah, it is a very expensive Lexus, and it also has performance that definitely puts up a fight against its competitors. But the question is, how much of a fight does it really put up? Well, let's take this baby even further down the road and let's see what she's made of. You know, guys, sometimes I absolutely have to pinch myself knowing that I find myself in situations where a prestigious car company like Lexus would allow this average Joe to drive a six-figure luxury GT convertible. I'm gonna tell you guys, knowing that I've driven these cars a couple of times already, I kind of knew what to expect. But I didn't realize still how much of a thrill that this car can offer, now being 3 model years into its entire existence. And you know, being a Lexus, I mean, aside from the fact that I know it's got a monstrous heart that hides up under the hood, it drives exactly like every other Lexus product that I've ever been in. I mean, the seats are incredibly sporty. You've got heavy bolsters. You've got the comfortable, quiet ride where you just want to relax and sit back and enjoy your time out here on the road. But then you know, all you need to do is twist that little drive mode selector into Sport Plus, knock this 10-speed transmission into manual, pull one of the paddles, and hang on tight. And you know what's even funnier is the fact that this car is not much bigger than a Lexus IS, if not right around the same size. And the fact of the matter remains, it weighs 4,500 pounds and makes 471 horsepower, 383 foot-pounds of torque from a 5-liter V8. I mean, knowing everybody that's going turbocharged 4-cylinders, twin turbo 6s, you name it, in the effort to increase fuel economy and also still give that performance of a bigger engine like this, I am so giving Lexus the biggest round of applause for basically ripping up the rule book, throwing it out the window, and giving me something that sounds like this. Oh yeah! Oh, this car could get you into trouble real quick though, believe me. Oh, that is so much fun. But you know, even though we're at a price point right now where most average men's wallets would be screaming for mercy, and the most well-to-do people would probably not even wince too much at the thought of buying such a vehicle like this, well, there are a couple of things that have kind of put me off a little bit. Obviously, the biggest one is gas mileage. Most people wouldn't give a care in the world, but for me, from my professional standpoint, the gas mileage is pretty woeful. I've only averaged about 15.5 miles per gallon during the time that I've had this thing, and that's primarily due to the fact that I couldn't keep my foot out of it with an engine that just begs you to rev it to 7,100 RPMs. But the other thing is the fact that they've given this car run flat tires, and when you mount them on 21-inch wheels like what we have here on this touring package equipped car, well, unfortunately, not only do you get a bit of road noise in here, but they are ungodly expensive to replace. So if it were my vehicle and I were designing this thing from the get-go, I would more than likely put a different set of tires on this car. It may save me a little bit of money, but it's also going to save me a lot of heartache from trying to find a set of tires for this thing when they come to be replaced. But you know, even with small little faults like this, and the fact that not only turning this car into a convertible jeopardizes the structural integrity of the body, and the fact that it turns into a mini tornado in here, I can sort of forgive all of that for this. I mean, I know she's not as powerful as something like an American muscle car. I mean, you know, Mustang GT, Dodge Challenger Scat Pack, that kind of stuff. But those cars pale in comparison to something like this. And they will never, ever send a chill down your spine like this will when you send it to the red line. Oh, yes, please, give me more of that. Oh, I need a moment, guys. Hang on. Oh my God. Oh, downshift for me, will you? Holy Christmas. What on earth was Lexus thinking? All right, heart rate back to normal. Let's focus on the main stuff here, because number one, this is a Lexus, and two, it costs $112,000. But here we are 3 years after its creation, and the LC500 still manages to absolutely send my emotions to the moon. So, in the face of some very prestigious competition from Europe, like I mentioned before, would I take the LC500 over its potentially more powerful and more prestigious competition? Yes. Yes, I would. Because I have been in love with this thing ever since it first came out in 2019. But you know what made me fall in love with it even more than that firepower that hides up under the hood? It's the way it looks. All right, now we're getting to the good part. Actually, wait a minute, hold on. Now see, this is what I'm talking about. Drop the top, reveal the guts, and feast your eyes on one of the most beautiful luxury coupes now turned convertible. And now I know that's a bold statement because there is a lot of competition for this thing. You have the F-Type convertible from Jaguar, BMW has the 8 Series convertible, and even Porsche with the 911 Cabriolet. All very well-known and prestigious vehicles, but what Lexus has created is the most sexy and stunning car that I have ever had the chance to look at. And the spec on this one is gorgeous. Nightfall mica on the outside, my favorite color on the LC Coupe, now sitting here on the convertible version. And this design, oh my God, it just makes you go hot in the pants and weak in the knees. It is just, it turns heads everywhere this car goes. I mean, look at the front, for example, triple beam LED headlights here with the LED daytime running lights. You also have auto high beam assist, auto adjustments as well, LED turn signals down here in the corner surrounded by the air skirts, and you have a nice little accent of this light metallic gray, which not only goes around the headlights, but you also have it here on the spindle grille, which the spindle grille on this looks like it is the basis for every other Lexus car on the road. It looks like it was designed for the LC Coupe from the very beginning. Now you may also notice there's a little bit of a gap up here. That's not just bad build quality, that's actually inspiration from the old LFA supercar. Now of course, more metallic silver, you have chrome, you also have the front half of the intuitive park assist, which also translates to the rear, and of course you have a big enclosed Lexus badge up front for things like your dynamic radar cruise control. Now, even though when you're driving this car, it does feel very big when you're actually out on the road, sitting still and actually looking at it from certain angles, it's not much bigger than a medium-sized small car. This thing is 187.4 inches long, which is not bad because, like I said, when you're driving it, you feel more of the width than you do of the length. Now, as with all convertibles, this is the way you need to look at it. With the top up, I'm not exactly sure it's my favorite way to see this car. However, you put the top down and oh my God, it is just pure seduction. And I know I'm getting all mushy about it, but oh my God, I need to stop drooling. And I'll tell you what's gonna make me drool even more is what is down here. Now, you've seen these wheels before on the other two LC500s that I've reviewed. These are the 21-inch black and machine-faced aluminum alloy wheels. Oh my goodness, what a design. And you can get a smaller set of wheels if you go for like a base model, but trust me, get the touring package if you go for the convertible. It adds these 21-inch wheels on it. You've got giant brakes in all four corners. So of course, not only do you have big wheels, but you have some big stopping power as well. And they just look fantastic sitting up here up against the blue paintwork. Okay, now for a little bit more obvious stuff. On a six-figure car like this, these are things that I would absolutely expect to be standard. Things like the mirrors, they're gloss black on top. You've got the chrome accent with the LED turn signal and the body color underneath, and they are power folding as standard. You're not gonna find any just regular mirrors that you can manually fold in. The power folding mechanism is the only way you can get them. They do have blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. Again, I would expect no less on a car like this. And of course, I would also not expect any less from the advanced keyless access. Now, I know the key is starting to look a little bit old, but it's still about as modern of a Lexus key as you can get. Of course, you have all the functions: lock, unlock, release the very tiny trunk, panic, and the releasable key blade out of the bottom. But you notice, as before, the door handles are hidden flushly into the side of the car. Now, you can unlock it either by just hitting the button on the key, or to unlock, for example, you push in on the front of the handle, and as you can see, they pop out pretty easily. But if you want to lock it, instead of just hitting the lock button, that would be too easy. Instead, you could just push on the front edge of the handle here, just slightly. Now, I know the front of this car gives off that drop-dead gorgeous look, but looking at this car from the rear, it is just beautiful. Just like the front end, it's very curvy, it's very futuristic looking. Again, something you would see more like on a concept car stand at an auto show compared to sitting here in the parking lot being filmed by an average Joe. But first of all, look down the side, look at those haunches. Those hips stick out quite a significant bit, and I absolutely love that. But things like the taillights, they're very angular and pointed. You've got more of that light gray accent here. One thing that I did discover is a bit disappointing is this little chrome section up here. It's not the way it looks, but the fact it's just chrome plated plastic. I kind of wish that was more like an actual metal piece. I know that might increase the price of the car, but you know, if you're going to pay for all the details, do it right or don't do it at all. Nevertheless, the taillights are full LED. You've got LED reversing lights as well, and the LED turn signals down below. I love the taillights because they give off kind of this 3D impression with the individual light bars hidden on the inside. Down below, as I said, we have the rear half of the intuitive park assist, and also one fun little hidden feature. This little button here is actually your trunk opener. It's not hidden down here by the license plate like you might expect. It's actually hidden up here just inside of the rear passenger tail light. But of course, the best thing about the LC500 by a country mile is the exhaust. And I mean, it speaks for itself. But as I've mentioned with the LC before, if you're looking for cargo capacity, which I don't know why you would, the best cargo capacity you could have may be the passenger seat. The trunk on this car is not going to be your friend. Like I said, if you want to open it up, you can either use the key or the little trunk button right here. And whether you go with the coupe or the convertible, you are not going to get any kind of space whatsoever. And the convertible is the worst offender of them all. 3.4 cubic feet. That's all you have back here. You can see it's pretty cluttered up because I've got my tripod and a few little odds and ends. I mean, you could store probably a little bit of a grocery run back there, but that's all you're going to get for this car. So if you're looking for cargo capacity, either put your stuff in the passenger seat or don't take anything with you at all. And again, considering that the LC is based more on a luxury style compared to an out-and-out performance car, it's easy to see why when you open the door and look inside that this interior is absolutely beautiful. Yes, this car may have a big heart, it may wear a beautiful suit on the outside, but you know, just like a good relationship, it's what's on the inside that counts. I mean, look at that red leather, diamond stitch. You got a 3-person memory setting for the driver's seat. Both seats are heated and ventilated, of course. I love things like the exposed carbon here on the side sills, part of the massive options list on this car. Everything about it is just crafted to the utmost nth degree. I mean, look at the steering wheel, perforated leather, stitched airbag. You've got the giant metallic silver paddle shifters on the back, perfectly weighted, and they feel fantastic when you actually give them a pull. You have a memory setting for the power tilt and telescoping steering column as well. All the controls for like your heads-up display, but a couple of other ones like your basic trunk and gas store functions. But you know, then comes the moment when you finally get behind the wheel of this thing, and I'm gonna tell you guys, despite the fact that this is branded as a long-legged V8 GT car, it feels like a driver's car in here. I mean, the legroom is actually pretty adequate. There's quite a lot of wiggle room for my knees. I am a little bit taller, as you guys have heard before, and even with the steering wheel lowered quite a bit down, it's at a perfect arm's length for me. The grip extensions are perfect. My thumbs fit right into them, and you just feel so much more involved in this car, despite the fact that it looks the way it does sitting here behind the wheel. Now, speaking of, I mean, all the controls you need for the driver's side of things, I mean, they're all familiar. Your adaptive radar cruise control with the distance sensor, lane keep assist, and lane departure warning. Your radio controls along the bottom, including your voice recognition, hands-free Bluetooth, the arrow pad and OK button that controls the full thin film transistor display that comprises your gauge cluster. And then, of course, you have the all-important button that when you push it. But you know, for $112,000, there is one big disappointment hiding inside this car. No, it's not the fact that the screen is only 10.3 inches in size, which is about 2 inches smaller compared to something you'd find in, say, a Lexus RX. It's the fact that within that screen is still the most dated infotainment system that I have seen. Now, the whole infotainment is not bad. There are some pretty cool things hiding within, but the fact that they are still using the old dynamic navigation system here in 2022, when Toyota just recently launched their new Highlights navigation system, I would have expected a lot better. Now, I mean, you can still go into the menu and type in things like destination, Bluetooth audio, phone. You have the N-Form app suite, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Amazon Alexa. I mean, it's all there, and you still have the ubiquitous touchscreen climate control. Now, I say it's touchscreen, it's all done through the Lexus Remote Touch interface, but it's a bit odd because, yes, you do have the ability to change the climate in here, but you still also have a sort of semi-skimmed version of the dual zone system down here below. I mean, you have automatic, off, temperature controls and so on, but let's say you want to control like your heated ventilated seats. You need to go to the seat and steering function. So now you have access to your ventilated heated seats, the optional heated steering wheel in this one, and so on. You even have a heated air scarf that goes around your neck as a part of the options list in this car. So, I mean, while the system itself isn't as dated as you would think, things like this map definitely need to go. And if you also want to talk about odd, look at the backup camera on this. So you use this very interesting shifter here with a very interesting pattern at the same time to put it into reverse, and you reveal the backup camera, and it is a much smaller camera compared to a lot of other vehicles. I wish this was widescreen. It would have done a whole bunch of dividends on this one. The quality isn't that great. It's a little bit grainy, and yeah, you can change like the guidance lines and so on, but I mean, that's kind of peanuts compared to the fact that it should be a full screen camera, and it really deserves a 360 camera on this one, not just that little minuscule screen that you see in the middle. Now, while the infotainment system is completely out of date, one thing does save at least the technology side of this car for me, which is the 13-speaker Mark Levinson surround sound audio system. It's part of that $7,900 touring package that I was talking about before, but I'm going to tell you, even with the roof down, it provides an excellent sound quality. But you know, for $112,000, Lexus didn't just include a lot of upper-end technology in here. They also included some very odd features like a CD player. I mean, I know I've said this before in Lexus products, who uses CDs anymore? But in a $112,000 luxury convertible, That is absolutely unheard of to me. But you know what? If you're still a CD person, at least you know that you can enjoy a V8 soundtrack and probably blast your favorite tunes at the same time. The other favorite things of mine is the positioning of the controls for the convertible top and all four windows. Now, normally this would just be a hand rest, but underneath this little pad here is the control for the top mechanism and for all four windows hiding underneath. So they haven't just made it obvious by sticking some kind of switch up here on the dash. They still kept it discreet and kept it under this little leather cover. And also the center console is kind of neat because not only does it slide back, but then you can just open it sideways to store, I don't know, maps and small bits of paper, but not really a whole lot that you can fit in there. But if you really want to talk about something that has confused me more than anything, it's why they would create a six-figure luxury convertible with more than enough room for at least two good-sized bucket seats, but then they decided, let's put a back seat in there that is absolutely unusable. I mean, forget the fact that I have this little air mesh net here at the top. I mean, you could take that out, and of course that's to save you from being buffeted around by the mini tornado that happens in here when you have the roof down. But I mean, it does have the power mechanism where you can fold the seats forward. I mean, that's all nice, but I would expect that in the LC Coupe. But even in that car, there is absolutely no way that once you put the seat back, unless you have the shortest passenger or you are the shortest driver in the world, you are not going to be fitting in the back of this car. So if you're looking for a 2+2, well, the LC ain't it. And unfortunately, guys, this now wraps up our review and drive of the 2022 Lexus LC500 Convertible. You know, there is no words in my entire memory that could convey how grateful I am to have an experience like this. Not just as an average Joe guy, but also as a journalist. It's not every day that a manufacturer will toss you the keys to a six-figure luxury GT convertible. And for that, I am beyond grateful. The engine in this thing is fantastic. Everything about this car is extraordinarily beautiful. And again, it is something that I don't feel I will ever experience in my personal life anytime soon. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this review or perhaps you learned something about the LC convertible today, please give this video a thumbs up. And also, while you're at it, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button down below, because trust me, I always appreciate the support and it does benefit the both of us at the end. But as you guys know, my credit goes right back to Lexus USA for giving me such a gracious opportunity one more time to have some fun with their GT convertible for a full week. But at the end of it, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review, and I will see y'all next time. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.